Body Love Summit, where we're having real conversations about everything from body shame to body love with some amazing women who are all using their expertise to revolutionize the body image movement. We are so happy that you are here with us today. And joining me today is Simone Goudreau, my good friend.
Hello.
She's a mind-body life coach whose mission is to help women make peace with food and their bodies and get on with their delicious lives.
Thanks, Crystal.
Hi, Simone. Welcome to the Body Love Summit.
And we dressed accordingly.
Yeah. We didn't plan this twinsies situation. It just happened.
Because we're twins.
Yeah. As you can see. Okay. So, Simone, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the viewers and let them know kind of your history and how your body love journey has progressed.
Okay. So, like maybe you, I'm not sure, a lot of the people that I work with, my story with my body image struggle started when I was in puberty. So hitting that time when things were really changing in my body, and I was always tall, and I was always called like the big girl, right? Like, oh, she's so tall, she's so big, and it just really, even though I wasn't bigger than most people, I really defined myself in that way, and it felt like there was something wrong with that. So for me, that always kind of stuck. And when I look back at my journals, the many, many, many journals that I wrote when I was a kid and into my teenage years, I just had this fantasy, this makeover fantasy. And it included not just my body. That was a huge part of it. But it really was this idea that there's something kind of wrong with me. And if I could change my body and make my body more like kind of the people that I saw around me, then I would be okay. Yeah. And that makeover fantasy has just been such a huge part of my life. And it's always included my body. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so probably if your body looked different, you would also equate that with your life being totally different.
Absolutely.
And all the things that you possibly could want in the world magically happen once your body looks different.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. And at the core of it all was always this idea that then I would be okay. Yeah. Right? If I can make all of these changes with myself and in my life, then I would be okay. Yeah. So, so that's a little piece of my story. Okay.
So as you moved through life, you started to see that maybe there was a different option.
Yeah, so what that looked like for me was a lot of dissatisfaction, a lot of mental energy, mental time towards this idea of being, making myself over. I never really was one who dieted a lot, which I feel like that's been one of the biggest gifts for me, is that I never was good at dieting. Thank God. So I would have these plans. I would make these great plans of dieting, but it just never. And there was a few. I was on Nutrisystem once. So I had a few experiences, but there was always, even though I wasn't actually dieting a lot, I was steeped in diet mentality. So of course, what that meant was then I started to use food differently and eat more and then gain weight more. So then what I believed was a problem became, in a way, my reality, right? My body started to look more like what I thought it looked like.
Yeah.
So, so when did that shift for me? So I decided
When did you realize what you were doing, wasn't working, or?
Well, it took not that long ago, actually. So I became a life coach in 2008. Yeah. I started my training then. And the reason that I got into this gig was because I wanted to lose weight. Yeah. And then I wanted to help people lose weight. Yeah. And that was my mission. That's that's really what and not just, lose weight, but also have this amazing life. Right? It's the
lose
whole
weight
package.
And get an amazing life. Yes.
The whole package. Yes. So at the beginning,
makeover dream lived.
Totally. And you can still hear remnants of it in my little tagline, right? And that's purposeful.
Right.
It really is.
Yes.
So,
get your delicious life.
So at the beginning, my programs, when I work with people around food and their body, the title that I had was Gain Life, Lose Weight. Right. So at that point, that was revolutionary to me. Because what I had seen in my own life was that when I was happy, all of a sudden things would start to shift for me,
Right.
and weight would come off my body, and I'd be eating better with less compulsion, and I'd be exercising more. And so that was very different than what I believed before, which was that I need to change my body in order to have a good life. So that felt revolutionary to me. So the whole gain life, lose weight, I felt like, wow, this is big.
Yeah.
So I did some more training around that, and as of course this happens, as I kept doing this work, I started to realize, like, the whole lose weight piece, that's problematic. Like, there's so much in there. Like, if I believe I need to lose weight, what does that mean about when I have extra weight on my body, or what I call extra weight?
Yeah.
So this shift has been profound for me. I feel like there's so much more I can say, but maybe I'll just stop and you can ask questions.
Was there a moment, like, or what do you think was maybe one of the things in your life that helped propel you into this shift? Because it is a little bit radical when we start to go, this is radical. I'm actually going to like myself the way I am. How radical is that?
Yeah. I think part of it was, of course, doing my own work. Yeah. Telling my own story, looking at my story and seeing the patterns that emerged, and seeing, like, what I actually didn't want to see, which was anytime I was focused on losing weight, it just created bigger problems in my life. So then I'm like, well, then how do I not want to lose weight when actually I want to lose weight? Because I really hate my body. Yeah. And then I read the book Health at Every Size, and I have to tell you, when I read that book, I couldn't actually read it. I opened it, I started to read it a little bit, but the whole message in there is that our bodies do not want to lose weight. We're not wired to want to lose weight. Our bodies actually want to hold on to weight. So that was not a message.
And that's
that
like
was comfortable.
They say that's a wiring that comes from, like, the body's desire to, like, for self-preservation.
Yeah, it's like a famine
survival.
Response. Okay. Absolutely. So that was not a message I was ready to hear. So I kind of put it away, but it was there, right? The seed was planted. And I knew that loving my body was a part of this, but it was always with this purpose of loving my body so that I will lose weight. Always, right? And I don't know, I can't say exactly what has helped me to change that, but it's shifted, but I wouldn't say it is completely shifted, because I live in the same world you live in, that everybody who's listening lives in. We get this message constantly that we need to be trying to lose weight, that it's better to lose weight, that fat is bad. So I have moments, of course, of still wanting to lose weight, but for the most part, my goal is to just accept this body. And I think, when I think about what really helped me a lot, it was my clients a lot of times, and in particular, one woman.
So cool.
Yeah, and fellow coaches. So cool. I did a program with a coach named Joy Tanksley, and she is really, I credit her so much for this message, because she was living it, and I was, like, listening to her message, and we were actually doing a program together, and it just brought up so much stuff for me that I needed to work on. So it was the biggest gift for me. Yeah. So now, Gain Life Lose Weight has, like, gone by the wayside completely, and when I work with people, it's around really. I focus a lot on eating and our relationship with food, but at the core of that is always learning to accept your body, your current body. Because when you're trying to lose weight, when you're eating for the purposes of trying to get pounds off your body, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, the stats are out there, right? 95 to 98% of the time, when we try to lose weight, when we change our eating to try to lose weight, we gain weight back plus more. So.
So, I would love to talk about just a little bit more about the journey aspect and how the concept of perfectionism and how perfectionism works into this body love journey that we're all on. And I'd love to hear more from you.
Well, I'm a perfectionist. I can own that one. And I see that for what it is. I know it's not a healthy striving for excellence, right? It's all about protection. I love Brene Brown's work on perfectionism, and I absolutely get it. It's when I feel like I need to be perfect at something. It's all about trying to hide flaws.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of, put up some smoke and mirrors so that the world doesn't see what I believe are flaws. So, and it's a pattern, right? Perfectionism is a pattern, and it's something that shows up in so many different ways in my life. And one of them is in this idea of loving my body. Yeah. So Crystal and I were chatting about this before we started this recording, that what I've seen with myself and also with my clients is this idea of I need to love my body, as in the attitude of loving my body perfectly. Like, I need to do that all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, and if I have a bad day, now instead of it being if I have a bad day, it's because of a number on a scale, and a bad day is, or I ate ice cream, so I'm a bad person. Now it can be, I looked at my body and I didn't like my hips today. Yeah. I'm a bad person.
Yes. So if I'm not loving my body enough, then, and what I mean there is the attitude of loving my body. If I'm not loving it enough, then that's a problem. And where that completely shifted for me was the Body Love conference that Crystal and I went to in April.
Shout out to Jess Baker.
And that was amazing for me because I've been doing this work, but secretly feeling like I'm an imposter. I shouldn't be doing this work because there are many days when I don't love my body. Yeah. So we went to this conference and we're listening to all these women who are rock stars, really, in the body love, body acceptance, fat acceptance movement. And every single one of them talked about days when they were hating their bodies and curled up on the floor in the fetal position eating ice cream because of attacks that they had been had happened to them, people judging them or shaming them, and they believed it, right? They took it in. So, and I haven't had that experience too often in my life, but I don't know how I would deal with that, but even my own attacks, right? my own body shaming, I felt like that wasn't okay, but I really clearly got the message from these women that it is just part of this journey. It's part of this journey. There isn't a perfect way to love your body at all.
There isn't some magic endpoint where it's like, no, every day I wake up and I love my body and everything is perfectly fine and never again will I have an issue. Yeah. Because that's the, constant of life. Yeah. Constant change.
Yes.
Where our bodies will always be changing. They're in a dynamic state. They're never stagnant.
That's right. And the way that I see it is when my body discomfort, body loathing, I mean, I don't use that word. I don't feel that very often anymore. I did. But even the discomfort, when I start to feel self-conscious or uncomfortable with my body or wanting to hide it or wanting to stay home to hide it, for me, that is just a clear signal. It's just a signal that there's something else going on, that I'm believing something. And what I've noticed lately for me, what has come up a lot, and we've talked about this as well, is that for me, my discomfort right now is not about my appearance or how attractive I might seem to people. It's really much more about me believing that the shape, the fitness level of my body, the amount of fat that's on my body is communicating something to people about my ability to care for myself and my health.
Right.
So what that's taught me then is when that's happening for me, when I'm starting to feel like I can't show up in the world because people are going to judge me and think that I'm not taking good care of myself.
Yes.
Then I know where to go, right? I know that it's time to start looking at what messages I'm believing about health. So these layers of health shame are starting to fall.
I love it.
And when I work with groups, I'm talking to people about how you don't have to do anything for your health to be okay. Yeah. To be enough. You could be eating the junkiest food in the world, fast food, whatever, every day and never exercising and just still okay. Yeah. And so when I really took that message in and went okay, it's not about my morality, then what do I want to do? Yeah. And then when it's not what I should do in order to be okay, but when it's what do I want to do, that's when the behaviors start to happen more naturally, where I'm starting to, like, you know what, I actually want to move my body today.
I actually want to go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
I actually feel like eating some vegetables to go along with the other stuff I'm eating, or whatever it is. I feel like eating fresh food.
Exactly.
Even.
Because for me, when shame is happening, then I become paralyzed. Yeah. So for some people, shame might spur them to kind of push and work harder and kind of pressure themselves into change. For me, it's always been the opposite. So when shame emerges, I tend to stop and become paralyzed. So that just feeds the shame. Yeah. So it's been just so useful for me to be able to see it that way, that any moments when I feel any kind of body ick, it's just a beautiful opportunity for me to go in and see, what am I believing? What am I believing that this body's communicating to the world? Yeah. And I know that that's my work.
Yeah. And I love that languaging that you're using too, about when I feel it, I know where to go. Yeah. And where you want to go is go inward.
Absolutely.
Go in to yourself and check in with yourself.
Yeah. And I call that, this isn't like my phrasing, but I always use the term coming back to center. And so that's where the answers are, right? Yeah. And it's not that I need to change my body or even change what I'm doing. It's not that I need to go out and start exercising more. It's that I need to check in with what I'm believing. Mm-hmm. So that has been huge. Whoa. And I believe, and I'm okay with this, actually. I'm kind of excited about this, that those layers will just continue to be shed. Like this is truly a lifelong journey. Yes. And
and it's so cool to see what shows up too, because things that you know, and I felt that too, especially with the Body Love conference that we went to, like just seeing these layers of shame even being peeled off of me just by preparing to go to the Body Love conference. Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. Okay, so you said something earlier today that like blew my mind, and I want to share that with everybody because maybe it'll blow everybody's mind.
Oh, do you want me to say it?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to hear your take on it.
No.
So the phrase body love is something that I've been struggling with a little bit because of my perfectionist nature, my pattern of perfectionism, and thinking that it needs to look a certain way. And so I really started to play with, in my mind, what does that actually even mean? And how can it help me move forward? So when I think of body love, in a way, so when I think of body love, I think of love as a verb. So body loving versus body love as the attitude, because I don't believe that I can just love the attitude, my body. Yeah. I can love the verb, my body, and then the attitude emerges from that. Yeah. So that feels much more doable for me. It feels less like this end game. I need to love my body perfectly. Mm-hmm. And so for me, when I think about loving my body, that really at the essence, it means to me, listen. Yeah. Right? Taking the time to listen to my body, hear what it wants, what its needs are.
Checking in, back to center.
And then meeting those needs. And getting really curious if I'm not meeting those needs. So again, it's not about pressure. It's not about pushing. It's about going, okay, so I can tell my body wants to walk. Like, I want to be moving right now, and I'm not. So what's that about? Yeah. And so then I get curious. So for me, that's love. That's the verb of love. Yeah. Loving my body. Yeah. So it's all about meeting basic needs, feeding my body, getting touched, all of it. So that's...
And I love that too, because it's, when you think about it that way, so... you know, body love, the attitude, or body love, like as a goal, can be something that is, again, this thing that we're trying to achieve that's off in the future. But body loving can be more of a state of the present moment.
It can be.
And right now, in this moment, and it doesn't have, you can just check in, and doing that check-in helps you move into a state of loving your body right now. And it doesn't have to look like, okay, I'm loving all the curves of my body or something, but I'm actively choosing to express some love towards my body.
And not checking in. Yeah. Just the act of going, what's going on? That's body love.
Yeah.
That's loving my body in this moment.
Yes.
So it's so much more achievable.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so powerful.
Yes,
I love it. I love this concept. And when she was telling me about this, I was like, now I want to change the name of the summit to the Body Lovin Summit.
But just think of it as maybe you could go Body Love the verb.
Yeah, Body Love the verb summit.
Yeah, that's catchy.
I love it. Okay, so I feel like you might have already shared this, but in terms of a lot of women who are watching this are probably like, wow, whoa, and how do I start to bring this into my life? So what kind of, even just like first steps or some kind of action that some of the women who are watching this right now can start to take, or men, or anyone.
Yes. So everything that I do in my practice, in my business, is framed around the word peace. Mm-hmm. So making peace. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of people, they're in a battle right now. Mm-hmm. And so it's like thinking about calling a truce.
Yeah.
And, this is the body we've got. This is we can't escape that. We need this body to get through this lifetime. And so this is a relationship that matters. And when we're in a battle, that relationship is broken down. So I like to talk about or think about this idea of, so if I'm in a relationship with a person that matters, I want this relationship to work, and it's not right now, what is the first step to rebuild that trust? And what's your answer?
Well, check in.
Yes, right? Like, listen, we want to truly, so if you and I were in conflict right now, I'd want to listen. I'd want to hear what is going on for you.
Yeah.
And then ideally be able to share with you my perspective, all of those beautiful things when you're trying to rebuild a relationship. It's the same thing. And so how does that actually look? Look at you.
I'm freaking out because when I did the interview with Jen Scalia yesterday, who's a love coach, this is the exact same process that she talked about in terms of what can you do with creating a loving relationship with somebody else. It's the exact same process. It's like you guys talk to each other.
Yeah, we do.
They don't know each other at all. And now Simone's saying the exact same thing is step one. Check in with yourself and then express the needs.
Yeah, and I like to think about it as even checking in with my body.
Yeah.
So I love to, even though I am my body, I mean, we're embodied, we're not separate. Yeah. But at this point, it can be really useful to kind of separate yourself a little bit and be in conversation with. Yeah. And so that can look like a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that I help people do is do a written dialogue with your body. So in the mind-body world, we often use our non-dominant hand to speak as the voice of the part of us that doesn't have a voice typically. So that would be my body, right? So I might ask questions with my right hand, writing on paper, and then allow my body to respond with my non-dominant hand. And that can feel a little bit awkward at first, like I'm kind of making it up, which is completely fine. Yeah. And it's okay.
Feel a little goofy.
Yeah, but over time it just kind of, it starts to flow, and it can be quite surprising what your body actually wants to share with you. Yeah. And there may be some anger there, right? There may be like, you've abandoned me. I just think that's one way. That's one way to begin to open up that conversation. Yeah. And it can also mean just this idea of tuning in and listening for the more subtle signals. Like, we're pretty good at listening to the shouts that our body's giving us. Like, I'm starving, or I'm going to stop eating because I'm so uncomfortably full, or I'm exhausted, so I'm going to fall into bed, or I have really intense pain, so now I'm going to go to the doctor. Yeah. Those really loud messages we usually pay attention to, but what we're talking about here and rebuilding this relationship of trust is... and doing your body-loving verb. Yes, is listening to those more subtle messages. Yeah. And the other thing I really want to make sure comes across is that it's trust both ways, right? Yeah, totally. It's not just me learning to trust my body, it's helping my body learn to trust me, because it hasn't. Yeah. I mean, I haven't
built that relationship of trust. Yeah.
And so then my body's in a stress response more because that trust isn't there. Yeah. So it's really a mutual trust building,
Yeah.
which I love. So
yeah, I love it. Okay, so is there any last messages that you would like to share or statements you really want to make sure that...
what I think is important is that we talked at the beginning about how I've had this makeover fantasy, right?
Yes.
And that I'm
Back
still...
at the beginning, the
I'm
makeover
still
fantasy, yeah.
talking about a delicious life, right? And I just really want to make the point that what I'm talking about there, I use the words delicious because it's like what... You get it, right? Delicious is just like what is so satisfying.
Yeah.
And it can be, taste. It can be an experience, a smell.
An emotion.
And so before, when I was talking about this makeover and this fabulous life, it was that I had things in my life, or I was doing certain things, or I had achieved certain things. And now when I talk about delicious life, what I'm really talking about is a life that is delicious to me in this moment. And that, like right now, I'm living a delicious moment having this conversation with Crystal.
Yeah.
So it's the tiniest little things that can make a delicious life. And it may mean that you're living this big, amazing life where you're traveling all over the world, but it doesn't have to.
No.
It's available in this moment.
Yeah, whatever this moment looks like, it's available.
Yes, and that is not available to us when we hate our bodies.
Yeah.
It's just not. And this is something I know that Crystal has experienced as well, and that I've experienced too, is that when I've made peace with my body, started to rebuild this relationship of trust, that this deliciousness is available. Mm-hmm. And
and it opens up your life in ways like you never would have thought. And just so much of life becomes more available to you.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So it's worth it, and it's scary, and I get that. I get that the idea of not battling feels really, really scary because we believe that we need to bully, and we may not use those words, but we think we need to kind of
be at war with our bodies. Otherwise,
control, manage.
Maybe things will go out of control if I don't hyper control.
Yeah, and the opposite is true. But I get that
there's resistance.
And that feels really scary.
Yeah, for sure.
So yes.
Yay! Thanks for joining us, everybody.
You're not thanking me right now. Thank you, everyone. And thank you. This is delicious.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Bye. See you later, everyone.